Gotta start this off by addressing the elephant in the room. Yes, I do need a haircut. It's getting really bad. Weird side tangent to start this episode off, because I hate retention apparently. I hate getting any sort of views at all. So I'll start this off with this weird side tangent, because that'll get them to keep watching, right? I, for some reason, think I'm like the most important person on earth whenever I need a haircut. And like just assume that my hairdresser will get me in like the next day. So like about a week ago is when I noticed like, oh man, like my hair is getting bad, you know, I should hit up my hairdresser and see when she can get me in, thinking like, okay, tomorrow by noon I'll have a haircut, you know what I mean? And this is when it was like starting to get bad. Like this is at the start of like when your hair is starting to kind of, you know, not look the greatest. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, tomorrow morning I'll get this cut. And of course I text her right away. I'm like, you know, what slots do you have in this next week? And she's like, as soon as one is 2 weeks out, which is in like a week now. Which means that now I have to go through a full week where my hair is at the stage where it's like never really looking good. And that's really scary. That's really bad. Especially since this is daily now. And there's another scary whole leap of like, I have to come back here after I get the haircut. And for those of you that know, you know, us white guys don't look great after haircuts. I feel like we have a little bit of a goofy hair syndrome right after. And there's a solid week where you look like you're 13 again after you get a haircut, because it just doesn't look right. It's too short. You're not wearing it right, and that's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Now that I've gone over that though, and fully addressed and drawn attention to the hair, I want to talk about balance. I've been thinking about balance quite a bit lately, and that's because I feel like I've been struggling on a personal level with my sort of definition of balance. Right? I kind of have not like a stated policy. But if I were to put it into words, something I try and do is whenever I see a perspective, whether it be somebody's perspective on me or my perspective on, you know, a world issue, or maybe it's as simple as like a movie or something like that, I try and look at the perspective and fully see it from their perspective. I try and go all the way in and understand what that person is saying. And then from there, I try to maybe hopefully take 1%. If I can get 1%, I'm happy. Take 1% of what they're saying and incorporate into what I think. I do this in an effort to be balanced, right? But something I've been thinking about is that real balance? I guess the logic behind it, right, is that if I'm going to take a little bit of what everyone thinks and understand just some of it, just understand, you know, it could be as simple as understanding how they got to that conclusion, then I'll come to a balanced perspective, which is a correct one, an efficient one, an effective one, whatever you want to call it. To not mince words here, I think it's just correct is the easiest way to put it. I think this comes from the fact that like we all have the idea that like the truth is often in the middle. I think that's something we're kind of more or less raised to believe, at least I definitely was. So it makes a lot of sense, I think, for me to be like, okay, I should see 1% of everything and get to the middle. That's where the right answer will lie. I think this is something I try and do. Sometimes I am really bad at it, but I try to. And, you know, it got me thinking, like, is this to my own detriment in some ways? You know, if I take 1% of everybody's perspective and try to incorporate it into my own, will that leave me with nothing but the feeling of a balanced, level-headed perspective, rather than just having the right answer to something? You know, maybe the truth isn't always in the middle. I also feel the need to clarify here, this is mainly for things that I'm not educated on. Like, there are certain topics where I consider myself to be better educated than others, and for those, no, not at all. I have my own opinions that I've come to based on data, research, things like that. You know, like I'm not sitting here going like, let's get 1% of the racist guy's perspective on these things. No, not at all. There's certain things that I don't look at as valuable or as something that I need to bring in, but oftentimes, most of the time I do, because I'm like, okay, bring these things all in will make me have the right answer. But like, at what point am I chasing, on a personal level, more than anything just the feeling of being a balanced person than actually having a balanced perspective on things and actually being correct. Again, using correct not in the sense of like, I need to be right all the time, but more in the sense of just like, looking at things with a degree of reasonability. I feel like if you guys have been watching for a minute now, you know that I'm all about reasonability. I think that like there's a lot of value in not being the smartest or the coolest or any of these things, but rather just being like taking a reasonable perspective on things. Kind of a trusting your own better judgment type thing. And I think in pursuit of my own idea here, that like being reasonable is oftentimes just like the best course of action, especially in a world where, we have so much information coming at us all day, and it's just not a reasonable expectation that I can fully research and understand everything I'm seeing all the time. So I think it makes sense that I look at things. Well, of course I think it makes sense. That's how I do things. Like, of course I believe in it. But that's what I do, right? I think it's a good way of doing things. But at what point in pursuit of me doing things this way do I end up just chasing the idea of reasonability rather than chasing the right answer to things? Because that's why I'm reasonable. That's why I'm being reasonable. I'm not being reasonable just because I think it makes me sound nice or anything. I'm being reasonable because I want to be correct. I want to feel that I have some grasp on what's going on around me. And I mean, not to, I feel like it sounds weird being like I want to be right about things, but you do, right? I mean, it'd be weird if I want to be wrong about things, right? But like, at what point do I have to just go, okay, I gotta stand on my own 2 feet. I can't incorporate 1% of this guy's perspective. I need to just have my own right now. Like, when is the right time to do that? And how often is my idea of reasonability, of balance, just like a whole idea that comes back to like a wrong answer that feels very good? Or, sometimes like, this is a critique that's come up a lot in everything I've done, of like data, how oftentimes when you compile data, you get the right answer of an average, but something that doesn't exist. Like, I think the example that people often use is like, if the average person on Earth right now, by statistics, is a 22-year-old Chinese man named Mohammed, who lives in, I think it's like Hong Kong or Beijing. I forget which one's the bigger city. Nobody lives in Hong Kong or Beijing that is 22 Chinese and named Mohammed, though, right? And I think that's a really great example of illustrating that, like, oftentimes numbers don't show you the full picture. This is something I think that everyone understands, and I'm actually like, it's kind of like an anti-science movement going on right now, but one of the things I do like that a lot of people are saying within that is having some sort of pushback to this idea that big data is going to get us a lot of great answers to everything. I do believe that in like medical and direct scientific spaces it will, but I think we do need to accept the fact that oftentimes demographics, opinion polls, these things are more effective at making money than actually showing you how the world is, right? So that's one thing that I'm a fan of. That's sort of a byproduct of that movement. But the reason I'm bringing up this whole thing about averages is because sometimes I get scared that that's all I'm going to end up doing as somebody who's trying to trying to be reasonable, right? In my quest to have a balanced perspective, because I think it'll get me the more accurate answer, maybe I'm coming up with taking 1% of everybody's perspective and ending up with none of my own and just this thing that's a hodgepodge of everything else that serves nothing and nobody. I'm taking everything to make nothing. And that's what I'm really scared of. Like, it's almost like if I were to mix all the colors on this palette right now, to make a colorful, varied perspective, I'm expecting a rainbow. I would just get a really dark, ugly, purplish brown, though. And that's what I think happens sometimes. Then again, though, and this is something that the reason this is such a debate for me, is because what is the alternative to this? Like, as much as I'm kind of I'd say it's been a good a solid 2 years, maybe 3 years, of me trying to look at the world like this, me trying to have a balanced perspective on things, like kind of taking up this, pseudo philosophy of mine, if you will. And I think now I'm coming to poke holes in my own ideas, right? Which is good. I think that's a good thing. I've said in just a couple Paint Talks ago, I think you should disagree with yourself yesterday. And I think that by the end of the year, there's a very good possibility that I have a complete different perspective on everything. And I'll be sitting here, the most extreme person on everything ever, right? There's totally that chance that I swing all the way back in the other direction. However, with that being said, what is the alternative to this way of thinking? If I'm saying that there are issues with this, is the alternative me not taking in anybody's perspective? Is that better? And the idea that the truth is oftentimes in the middle. That's something you always hear, right? I don't think that's. People say I just knocked the mic. Hopefully that didn't pick up. People say often the truth is always in the middle. I don't think that's true. I think the truth is often in the middle, though, right? So, is this way of looking at things of mine going to get me a good answer? Oftentimes. And is that better than never? I think I do believe that's probably the best you could do right now. I don't think I was going back to what I was saying before, it's just the sheer amount of information that I'm taking in every day. I don't think I can be correct and right about everything all the time, because I just saw an Instagram reel about the best olive oil to pick out in the store. As a human, I'm going to perceive it. I'm going to develop some sort of thought around it, whether that might just be taking in and agreeing or thinking I use this olive oil and it's great. The truth is I know jack shit about olive oil though, so nothing really is gonna help, right? Outside of just using the general skills I have of developing oh, okay, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about. I should remember that. I feel like that's the logical way to do things. Olive oil's a weird issue to bring this up with, I guess, right? What I'm scared of, though, is having nothing, not so much nothing to say, but having just a very nothing opinion on anything because of this perspective eventually. And sometimes, as I have gotten older, something I've noticed, especially in the last year or so, is the more I've gotten educated about things, the less I care about everything else. There's so many times now where I'll be scrolling and I'll see maybe it's a controversy or a big debate going on or something like that. Whether it's, social, political, or just about a movie or anything like that. What did this influencer do today that we all care about, right? And now I just don't care at all. And I feel like I used to care. Is that me becoming apathetic because I'm overloaded with information, or is that my idea of having a balanced perspective leaving no room for me to just develop an opinion on something because I don't feel like I should have an opinion since I'm investing a mere 10 seconds in? And these are things I'm debating a lot. Today's Paint Talk was weird, I think, because usually I try to actually come here with something of a fully formed thought, right? But I didn't have an actual thought on this. I just had my own issue. So this was just therapy, I guess. This really wasn't much of a Paint and Talk. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Maybe you got something out of it. Maybe you could give me advice on my own predicament. I have gotten comments, which is really cool. Some of you are older, up to your 30s, your 40s. I've had people DM me that are in their 60s, and that's cool too. So some of you have way more experience than me. Maybe you could help me out. I try not to do these too often where I'm coming to you guys I don't know and everything's dumb and bad and I'm an idiot and have no answers and just a bunch of questions. But I do think at the same time I'm showing you my progress learning to paint. I think it makes a lot of sense that I would also show you my progress mentally. You know what I mean? I never want to give off the image that I'm somebody who is a fully formed individual. I think by the end of this year, by the beginning of next year and the end of next year, you will see me spouting the exact opposite of probably what I have talked about these first 84 episodes. And I genuinely believe that's a good thing. I want to grow with you guys and do it here because, well, that's why I started this, right? It'd be weird if I tried to say, I have a definitive worldview and philosophy and I'm just going to present it now. I think that'd be a very bad way to go. But this is the painting. Of course, it's about balance. I got it a little bit wonky. I wanted to do a full figure, but it ended up with like half of the figure looking, bad. So you can tell what it is, but it's a little bit wonky. And I wanted it to be wobbly. Like, that's why I roughed up these edges here, because I wanted it to be a wobbly sort of thing to show like the shakiness of the balance of like it's sort of a tightrope act. I picked this ochre because I felt that's the color that it feels like. It's like warm, it's good, you're trying to be balanced, but it's also a little bit muddied because you're trying to be balanced. So I guess in some ways that might be adding to the symbolism of things, but in others it's just uglier to look at. So go check it out over on Instagram and tell me your thoughts about this painting over there. And until tomorrow, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 84. I'm here every morning painting and talking with you all.